took us down to Kanab and they told us it was cold. You know, this is in the winter time. Cold and the bugger, and they said, I don't think you can go that way. And they're starting to build that road, but nothing's gone through there yet that we know of. And finally, this one guy at this service station, he says, well, he says, you might make it, but he says, I doubt it. And so anyway, we got a couple of 5-gallon cans and filled them up full of extra gas. And we took off. And we gets over the Colorado River, over the Carlyle National Forest, and that was a fairly road, you know, for an old dirt road. And this old Dodge is just like a truck, you know. We gets over and they had that swinging bridge across the river, but from there it just stopped. So it was quite a thing at that bridge. There's a girl right in the center of it, and there was nobody for miles around. And she was a young girl, I'd imagine about 18 years of age. And when we come on there she was standing right in the middle of that bridge. And we pulled over there and I stopped. And she didn't seem like she wanted to talk. And I asked her, I said, what are you doing out here all alone? Where'd you come from? She says, here and there. And so anyway, well, we didn't think nothing about it, so I backs off the bridge, because it was slow down there, and we decided to get some rocks and bring back and drop over that bridge, you know. So we did. Them old cars had them running boards, and we put them rocks on the running board and went over there. We dropped over that bridge, you know. And she was still there, and I told her, I said, when we went to go, I said, well, now listen. She didn't have very good warm things on, you know, the wind was blowing. And I said, if there's anywhere that you want us to take you, we'll be glad to take you. No. So we left. And I don't know what the heck, where she come from or where she was going. But anyway, we went on, and then it was just old desert. And just, there's nothing but a cow trail. You get down them washes, you know, nothing but that old blow sand, and then I'd lose traction. We got stuck in one of them. So finally, we decided if we let the air out of the tires, you know, not all out, but half flatten them, maybe we'd get out. We did, it helped. But anyway, we messed around there all day, and finally we come to that old Indian trading post. By that time it was about midnight, I guess, or 11 o'clock. And we was hungry. So we stopped there, and I'll never forget, all they had was corduroy line 6-foot, of course, you know, and went in that old trading post. All these big, long Indians with their hair down. Poor old Uncle Johnny, he was scared to death. He hung on to me just like a kid. Don't go in there, Curly. We don't go in there, you know. I said, oh. He was, you know, he was awful nervous. So we went in there, and there's an old Indian. We asked if we had something there to eat. Well, all he had was some soda crackers and some of this cheese in these little packages. So I bought some of that. And we got back in the car, and from there on into Flagstaff, so it was about 40 miles out of Flagstaff. Why, it was a gravel road, you know, but it was not a bad road. And we had this lantern down and a blanket over us, you know, to keep going. So Uncle Johnny, he's broke these soda crackers open and this cheese, and he spread this on cheese, handed it to me. And finally I said, took a taste of it, and my gosh, I mean, what the heck is that? I don't know. He said, don't taste with it. I said, hell no. I said, it don't. So he put the lantern up to look. You know, that cheese was nothing but a bunch of worms. Been on that blasted shelf, I guess, or you name it. But anyway, we went on down to Wickenburg, and there we were stranded. Now we're broke. No gas. So we slept in the car there for a couple of nights. And someone guy told us about this mining outfit, and maybe we'd get a job there. So we went out to that. And yeah, they hired us. So we stayed there all winter. And worked. And then Art Shreve told me, he says, keep in touch with me. Because he says, in the spring, he says, I want you to come to work for me. So I wrote him a letter, and he wrote back and says, get up here. He says, things are opening up. So we come on up. I went up and patted him. John went up, he got free. But we went to Phoenix one night to go dancing. We got down there and they told us the River Club or something like that was the place to go. And down there it was a lot different than up here. It was dime dances. You had a floor and you paid a dime for each dance. Then you took your girl out there and danced, you know. Just before I left, they had come out with these two-tone suits. They had a vest that you could turn, you know, to match a different color that matched your suit. You know, that. At that time, I dressed pretty good. I had these taps, you know, that was popular, and that went up over your shoes. I guess you don't even know what they are, but they were quite dressy at that time. And down there, you know, nobody ever saw anybody dance here without a suit coat. You didn't even get into the dance if you didn't have a suit on. So down there, if you had a pair of slacks, that's all they cared about, you know. Well, John was quite a dresser too. And we went there all dressed up, and we just looked like, stuck out like a sore thumb, you know, in that group. And of course, we'd got a pint of, maybe I'd not say, a pint of whiskey when we left there at Rickenburg, you know. By the time we got to Glendale, it was about 35, 40 miles into Glendale, and about 50 miles in Phoenix. Them days, like 40 mile an hour was going pretty fast. Well, we drank this pint of whiskey. This time old Johnny was hired a kite. So we got us another one. Well, I ended this dance. And we was just having the time of our life. And we went to the bathroom, and was coming back to our table. And there's four guys sitting at a table, and one of them I heard say something about, look at those two, the cities, the slicker sons of bitches or something like that. Well, in them days, I whirled right around and called them.
They were down at the restaurant.
And I guess maybe that was the wrong thing to do, but anyway, well, we got in. And John had never fought. You couldn't get him to fight, you know. But old Jerry had been right there with me. Well, ordinarily, I wanted to go outside, see. I was pretty brave in them days. The morning sort of right here, we'll take you on. But they didn't want to go outside. So we started right there in the place. So here come the cops. And up here, they'd have stopped you, see, and taken you down the precinct. But down there, all they done is held the crowd back and said, let them have it. Go to it. Well, there's 4 against 2. Well, I went through these two guys I was fighting without much trouble. And I went to help poor old John. And the cops grabbed me and said, oh, no, let him do it. That's his. And they wouldn't let me help him. Good hell, old John wasn't too bad with these dukes, if he'd had the nerve to use them, you know. But he was had too much in his belt even to do anything, and they would just beat the hell out of him. Nothing I could do because these cops had to. And so that was kind of a bad thing, but I did get my glasses broke. So the next morning, we got us a hotel room. We got it right above one of these honky tonks. And so we went there, and the next morning, old John was sick. We only had one bathroom for all these rooms, you know, which in them days wasn't too out of the ordinary. Well, old John went in there, and he had to do the number two, you know, but he didn't want to sit on that seat. So he started. You know, yeah, we waited for 20 minutes to get in there. Line up, you know, and then line down. And it was kind of not a nice place, you know, to sit down on. And he had them whiskey. And when he let go, oh, it splattered off. So, and all these big old burly guys out there waiting to come in. So I says to John, I says, there's only one thing to do. I says, you go downstairs, you're going out. You go down and get the car running. And I says, back out away from the curb, get right on the street. And when I come, take off. So I gave him the keys. I waited till I thought, and there was a hollering outside, hey, don't stay in there. I said, well, just a minute. And so finally, I thought, well, he should have her all set. So out I come. And I took off as fast as I could go. As I hit them stairs to go down, I could hear that. Whoa, oh, he was sweet, but then it was so much different down there than it was here. Now you don't see that differential, but see, gosh, there's very seldom you'd ever see anybody from Arizona up here or from here down there. Transportation is so much different. Apples down there then was from up here. If you got an apple down there, why it cost you 10 cents when you're working for $1 a day. And sweet potatoes the same up here if you got it. But it was a pretty good experience. But I had to get the glasses fixed. We had to be to work Monday. So I hunted up this tar, what do you call it, for your glasses. It was right on the main street there, which is Washington Avenue, just like ours here in Ogden. They'd give his home phone address, see? So I called him on the phone. He said, yes. He says, if you come out, he says, I think I can fix your glasses. And he gave me his address. But when we gets out there, holy mackerel, Don, it was a mansion. One of these where you had this big long driveway back in there, you know. It had these iron gates where you went through. We stopped and I said, my gosh, that was a beautiful place. So John, he says, well, I'll stay in the car. He says, don't think I'd better go in there. So I went in and rang the doorbell. There was a girl come to the door. She's auburn haired, beautiful girl. And she invited me in. I told her what I was there for. She said, well, Dad's out back there in the kitchen. She says, I'll tell you. So she went on holiday, and Dad, he says, there's that fellow that called you on the phone, sir. He said, well, tell him I'll be in there in a while. He says, I'll be a few minutes before I get there. So she sat down there and we got to visit. And I told her we'd been out to dance. And she said, oh, you love to dance? And I said, yeah, I like to dance. And she says, well, how'd you like to come down next Saturday night? And I'll take you and we'll go around. She says, I belong to all these private clubs. And I said, well, I don't know about that. I said, I'm not making too much money. And I said, I kind of got to watch where I go. Oh, she said, don't worry about that. She said, I'll take care of that. So, I went down next Saturday night, of course. I went down for about 3 Saturday nights. But then I decided that it was best not to because things were getting out of hand. That she had all the access to these places, a real good dancer. And of course, she was one that kind of like show off too, you know. But she wasn't the kind of a girl, Don, that I wanted to be with. I picked up. So I just quit. But the girls were different there. If you were, the first night that I took this girl home from this down to dance, I took her up and I gave her, went in, we had a shake and something, you know. And when I got her home to where she lived, she couldn't figure out that I just wanted to kiss her goodnight and go away. And see, you never run into that up here like that. You know. They're just a lot different. But then John, when he quit, when he lost his job at the Hot Springs, see, he'd worked there, John had, for, I guess, 6, 7 years. Got married and everything, and then he lost his job and he didn't have nothing to do. And he got broke. So that's when I got on this deal to go out on this college deal on that railroad. So I said, John, why don't you go and see if you can't get out there too? Well, he says, you think they'd let me? And I said, well, if you tell them you're going to college, I think they would. So anyway, he went down and he got on. So he and I went out together. And when he got the job with me,
When he lost his job at
he lost his job at the Hot Springs, and so he didn't know what he was going to do. And it was in the fall and winter, so anyway, he got out on this job with me, and he was so homesick, and it was too hard to work. John couldn't take it anyway. It was terrible the way they worked you. And a lot of guys couldn't take it. And so the following Sunday, we got out there, it was Sunday night. And the next Sunday, John and I took a walk, and he just broke down and bawled like a baby. I said, John, why in the hell should you be out here? I said, you got a wife to home? Run back, you'll find something to do. So he did. And then quick, he got his pass and come back in there. But I enjoyed it out there as far as I was concerned. Another young fella that was there, we kind of palled up, you know. And we had one of them big cars all to ourselves, and all the rest of them was filled up. Every night, all them guys would come there. And, you didn't have anything to do at night, so you'd think of something to do. And I don't say it to brag or anything, but I was kind of the leader of the pack right after it was soon there. They'd come there, so I got the idea, well, I put a box, a freeway box. I'd have each one of them stand on it and perform for the rest of us. And you know, every kid in there. Some of them it was also hard, you know. But they'd have to give a poem or anything, you know. And finally, you know, I never give it a thought until they'd all had their turn. And they said, well, now it's your turn, Kurt. And, you know, I no more could do that through fly. just couldn't do it. But, you know, it was a funny thing. I got out there, and so I told him, I said the next day, I said, well, how can I get to a dance Saturday night? And they said, you don't go no place out here. And I said, well, if I can't, I won't be here very darn long. And I said, I've got to be at a dance sometime, at least once a week somewhere. Well, we was out at Fernley, Nevada. That was out there at that time. There's a guy there from Sparks, and he was a married man. And I imagine he was about 35 years of age, and he was a cook's helper. And so I went to ask him, I said, how much will you charge to take me into town Saturday night? Oh, he said, I don't know. And it was around about 30 miles into town. And finally he says, well, he said, I'll tell you. He says, if you give me $5, I'll take you in. I said, all right, I'll give you $5. You be sure to get in there. So then I got 4 of these other guys to go with me. I had to talk like a Dutch couple to get them to go. Well, we gets into town, and they wants to get off at that gambling place in the red light district is, see? In that town, they was right there together. So I said, why don't you come up and go to the dance with me? There's always a dance in the town at that night. And this was a town where they had a small college. And that's where they was having a dance that night. Well, that was right up my alley. So this guy, married guy, he didn't dance. So we let these all off, and he takes me up to dance, and he was going to go to a show. He said, I'll meet you down at that restaurant after the dance. I said, okay. You know, I had the time of my life there that night. We met him, and went down and picked these guys up, and they was flat broke. They gambled and invested all their money. And they borrowed money from me to go up and get them something to eat and go home. And so anyway, they moved us right after that up into the northern end of California. And so I was having a big wedding dance there in town. I had to talk like a Dutch uncle to get these 2 kids that was kind of chasing us. We had, you know, how you team up. And another one, there they go. And finally they decided to, well, we'll go. We won't dance. They'd never danced. Well, I gets there, and I just had the time of my life. I met all these young gals. So I told them, hey, why don't you go just grab them guys and take them out here on the floor. And they were good sports, and they did. And, of course, they'd had a few drinks. Land of mercy, they got out there dancing. Went out there for their life, and after that you couldn't keep them away. And then when Saturday night come along, the whole bunch would want to go to the dance. But those guys had been out there all summer and all that fall and never been to town. Of course, they were saving their money, but I like to make it, but I like to enjoy it too. But then when we came in, that's how I met Cliff Jones. Cliff was out there, and nobody would even have anything to do with him. And I kind of felt sorry for him, you know. And he come in that car one night, and he said, oh, here comes that. We don't want him in here. And I said, why don't you, what's the matter with him? I talked to him, you know, and I went on my way to talk to him because I felt kind of sorry for the guy. But anyway, his dad was the guy that was over sending us guys out there. Stip, he wouldn't work. Cliff never. So Stip was between, you know, in between, because he didn't want to fire him, because his boss is an uncle to Cliff, see? His uncle sent him out there. So he said, hell, I guess I gotta put up with a goddamn no good bugger, you know. So he put him in as the water boy. In a gang like that, you know, boy, they didn't want you to miss a beat. You took the drink in a hurry and got back to work. And he wouldn't even do that. So he put him in there with this other guy to help the cook. And all he had to do was keep water pumped up, and he could have done that in 5 minutes a day. And he wouldn't even do that. And Stitt told him one night, right in front of me, he said, you know, he says, when we go in for the Christmas holidays, he said, I don't want you coming back out. Well, about 2 weeks before the Christmas holidays that we going in, why, Stitt, he said, I can't take it any longer. So he told him, he'd give him his walking papers and send him in. And when I got into, Cliff, of course, took a liking to me because I'd go out of my way to treat him decent, you know. But when I got off the train that day and walked in to go there, Cliff was waiting. He knew when he was coming in, and he was there to meet me. And he says, why don't you come and stay down with me, his place? I said, no, I said, I don't want to do that. But anyway, I got me a room, and he stayed with me. And he says, well, why don't we go down and to my place? And see, I just got into town. I didn't even have a car, and Cliff never did drive. And so anyway, we got down there, walked down there, I guess, and I met his folks. And so anyway, the next night was this dance. So Cliff had never danced. So I said, why don't you come and go to the dance? I'm going to the dance. Well, all right, he said, maybe I will. So he did. He come there and we put him in a hotel room, and we went up to dance. Well, that's the night I met Mom and Jean. Yes. So I met Jean before I met Mom, and she wanted to know if I wanted to meet her sister. And I didn't want to meet her sister either. I was kind of, I guess, like Mom said, kind of cocky. I didn't have somebody meet their sister. I want to take more pick. So I went through. Of course, you go through all these women and look and pick out the best looker, or one you. I would. Some of them would pick out one because they didn't think maybe she's ugly. They wouldn't turn her down. That was the wrong thing to do. I looked for the best looking chick, and then that's the one I'd hop. So I went through there, and then I saw Mom. Boy, I thought, that's the gal. So I get her up for the dance, and we danced. Well, Jean had told her about me. And he told me, and boy, he's a good dancer and so forth, I guess. So all the time I was dancing out there, I didn't know it, but Jean was pointing, that's the guy, you know. Well, when Mom found out my name and that, she knew all about me. Well, because all these girlfriends, hell, I'd went with most all her girls' friends. And they knew me, you know. And she'd heard all about the Larkin. I don't know, we just kind of clicked and started going. I was kind of cocky. I didn't treat her right, which I didn't any girl really. I'd take her to the dance first dance. Hell, I'd never even go her direction till the last dance. And I'd take another one out to get a little love. I was crazy bugger. But that was all in love and war. Well, Mom didn't, she didn't have to take that because she was a popular gal. She'd never run up against somebody like that, you know. But, well, yeah, like couldn't go to dance without being tipsy. She'd never even been with a guy that even drank or smoked with him. Then the guy take her to dance, and hell, she couldn't get rid of him to dance with somebody else, you know. You know, I'd dance with him, she'd never see him. Then she'd see me coming in with this lipstick on, you know. And that was kind of an insult, you know. And then I kind of realized that she was everything that a man could. Well, she's just what I was looking for, and I didn't think I'd ever find her.
You're shaking it, I would
Then I
just
got-
have to go.
We split up 2 or 3 times, and so then I got
You know what I did
a
wrong?
little more sense, and
You
then
know,
we got
just
on
roll
further.
down. You did about 20 boxes. I made a big one. But I got big boxes and I made popcorn soup. That's
Well, I'll never forget, Mom says, well,
full of popcorn,
I don't know, she says.
and
I don't know whether I can live with you or not, but she says, I know I can't live without you.
I did that. All these people.
So, bless her heart,
Daddy, bless his heart, he just yelled.
but I heard her pretty deep. I shouldn't. And then I was running that chick in out there, and that was, and one night, we was down there, and oh, there's a couple of gals come out there, and that tune kid out there, he says, let's take them 2 chicks home tonight. Well, Mom was working that too for me, see. And I didn't
Hi.
drink a little, which I
Hi,
shouldn't
Miss.
have.
Hi.
Well, they were good looking chicks, I said, okay.
Are you the one that's in there?
So I told Mom, I said,
Baby.
let me get through serving them tables.
You go to Debbie.
Why, I thought I said I'd take you home. She says I told her you can go home. But I was figuring on taking her home and then coming back and getting these chicks. See? Well, it upset her, and of course she got the tables and run home. She walked all the way home, up all that way, you know, and she was nervous. And so when I couldn't see her and she wasn't there, well, I went ahead and took these chicks home anyway. And we were engaged at the time. Next morning, well, here she comes, give me a ring back. And I don't know.
What'd you get for Christmas?
But,
Oh,
so I,
beautiful.
but you know, son, it wasn't that I wanted to do it, but you know, I've seen so many girls make such damn fools of guys. And boy, I made up my mind of
Is that what Friday?
cockeyed girl will ever make a fool out of me. And I just got the idea, it's better to be loved than loved. That way you never get hurt. And I never did. I had a lot of girlfriends, and I liked them. I respected them. They were. I didn't like to go a girl unless she was a nice girl. And because I didn't, if a girl had a name or something like that, I just wasn't interested. The femininity of a girl is what attracted me, the ladylike. And Mom was toxic. And, but I just didn't want to be made a fool of, not by a woman. And I always was on the defensive. If I thought, I took a girl out and I thought that she really wasn't tickled to death to go with me, boy, she never saw me again.
You know, we'll take it back.
The trouble of it is, a lot of guys don't know how to get it. You know, a lot of them will get one and then hang on. I'd take guys,
I thought maybe.
because hell, there's all there, my bachelor's den, and they'd want to go, you know, and I couldn't go. Oh, you know, I had to watch my money, because I wasn't living home on the folks like them kids. And they come a lot of times, well, let's go get some girls and do something. I said, well, I can't go tonight. I want to go Saturday night. I got a date or, I got to save my money or something. You get us the women and we'll pay the bill. So I would. Man, I never had no trouble getting girls. I get on the phone and get a half dozen lined up. And, well, some of them guys that, my gosh, then they'd hang on, just like Cliff Jones did that Gene. Couldn't get rid of him. And I don't think that's. I'll tell you, I had a lot of fun single. A lot of times I paid for it. What I mean, I spend my last dollar to go to a dance. Then I go hungry. But I had to go to that dance. That's all I had to live for, really. And I knew how to have fun. But there's nothing like a happy married life. Good Lord, to have this world organized to perfection if we could live in it. My gosh. The joy and happiness I've had since I got married. That other is just good to have. Every minute that we're on with Mom was heaven on earth. We're too much that way, really. So many people, they say, well, if we could go south, if we could go with somebody. Now, for instance, if we could go with you guys, we'd like to go. We don't want to go down there alone. Mom and I kind of feel it's a little bit opposite to that. We just, our fun is together. It's fine if they're the right kind. There's not too many that you can have that kind of fun, is there?
We always just enjoy being together. We're never lonely if we're together.
Well, you want to take a break?
I think so. It's Jack's here.
Good.